They said they loved each other, and who am I to judge and say that they didn't? Miriam Carre was adopted from a young age out of Guatemala by her parents Robin Carre and Dr. Beth Potter. I will use that old cliche. You know how Miriam was a good girl until she met her bad boy? It was something like that, I guess. She was good in school, minded her parents, and she was a respectful young person. And then she met him, Khari Sanford. Towards the end of spring semester, they started to date all summer long, which caused problems in the Potter-Carre household. Miriam's grades were slipping. She was distant and very combative towards her parents. What were her parents going to do? After catching Khari in the home multiple times, Miriam said she did this during the cold nights. She explained that Khari had nowhere to go and he would sleep in her car. Miriam was worried about her boyfriend's living conditions and would do anything to make sure that he was happy and taken care of, like she was. Carre and Potter had even agreed to let Khari stay in the home. Miriam was excited. She was surprised by this, hoping things would get better, hoping Miriam's grades would get better, hoping that there would be a change in their daughter's attitude. Miriam wasn't the only child in the household. She had 2 other siblings, brothers. Her parents set rules that Khari and Miriam had to abide by in order for them to stay in the household together. They had to fill out college applications, and Khari was the captain of the high school football team, so he wasn't too interested in that one. The couple could not sleep in the same room, and they also wanted for Khari to communicate with them more. He would sometimes ignore her parents when they greeted them. He would break the curfew a lot, and then Miriam says that she was forced to leave with him, that he would threaten to harm himself, and she was only looking out for his well-being, and those rules were broken regularly. Khari told Miriam that her parents had old world views and they were outdated, and he felt like a slave living in that home. In a text, he called Miriam's parents, quote, white saviors, end quote. Still, Carre had to fix the problems, and he decided to seek family counseling with his daughter. Maybe things with Miriam was much deeper than young puppy love and an instigating boyfriend. Carre and Miriam had 2 therapy sessions where one of them, Miriam secretly recorded and played the recording back for Khari. In early 2020, this was around the time where COVID was at its biggest scale of deaths and paranoia in the media. Mostly everyone just wanted to be safe, or as safe as they could be. After what would be their second and final therapy session, Miriam and Khari were asked to move out. The young couple were not abiding by any of the rules, let alone the COVID-19 rules that the family had set forth in the home. Potter had a medical condition that left her vulnerable to catching COVID, and she had to continue going to the school and working. So they were asked to move out. This, more than anything, started a friction. Miriam told her mother that she didn't care about her by asking her to leave the family home. Carre thought that this was a good decision and that this was the right thing to do. He started to help his daughter look for an apartment. Miriam said the relationship with her father had gotten much better, and she was now excited about looking for an apartment. She would be able to smoke. Miriam's parents were fitting the bill, so there shouldn't have been any more problems. Her parents would put the couple up in an Airbnb, and Miriam had the van to drive. In a criminal complaint, a classmate of Miriam's would overhear her saying how her parents was rich and that they could get, quote, bands of money, end quote. Miriam had also knew that she was a benefactor in her parents' will. On March 30th, 2020, Khari would abduct at gunpoint his girlfriend's parents at the house that he once lived at with a friend of his as the driver of the van. They were taken to the grounds of the University of Wisconsin where Potter had worked. They were thrown in a ditch and brutally executed one by one. Khari shot each in the back of their head. Carre died instantly, but Potter remained alive. Khari didn't know that. The next morning, a jogger would find their bodies in a ditch. Potter was still alive, barely clinging to life, but would die the next day in the hospital. During investigative work, Khari, Sanford, and his friend Elijah LaRue were arrested in the deaths of Miriam's parents on April 3rd. Elijah's mother, Alice LaRue, was a patient of Dr. Beth Potter's. She said this was out of her son's character. He would never do anything like this. Elijah even said he just drove the van. He did not know that Khari was going to kill his girlfriend's parents. Miriam did testify against her boyfriend and tell the court that though he had taken her car, she didn't know that he was going to kill her parents. She didn't know that he was going to even harm them in any kind of way. A lot of people close to the family begged to differ. When he returned back to the Airbnb with Elijah, he didn't say where he had been, let alone what they had done. In court, text messages between the couple during the trial, they would bring up that white savior complex and the fact that Khari would say that her parents were going to die. Miriam said whenever Khari was mad, he would say violent things like that. She didn't believe that he would do something like that. Miriam was never arrested. Miriam Carre invoked her Fifth Amendment right, and she was given immunity for her testimony. Elijah LaRue, 18 years old, would receive 8 years plus an extended supervision. And Khari Sanford asked for 25 years. He said Robin, Carre, and Beth Potter only tried to help him, and he blamed his upbringing and life choices on his actions that killed this couple. He said they had always been good to him. They were good to anyone that they had met. However, the judge felt that he was not remorseful, and he received life. No parole. Miriam Carre does have an inheritance that was left by her parents, and she is fighting to receive what she feels is rightfully hers. My condolences to the people that loved and cared for Beth Potter and Robin Carre.